Hello YouTubers, and welcome back to part 2 of our adventures through London. In this episode we're going to see some of the more well-to-do areas. We're going to carry on where we finished part 1 at Camden Lock, along the Paddington Arm, turn right at Ballsbridge Junction, and then on to the Grand Union Canal proper. I think they call this bit Cumberland Basin. What a lovely setting for a restaurant. I do like the look of this boat over here on the left. It's not too flash. It's got a lovely deck area for entertaining. You see a lot of these up here. They're called go boats, and people hire them out for the day. They go between Camden and Little Venice. What a nice way to spend a day out. This bit should be recognisable to a lot of people. It's London Zoo, one of the oldest and most famous zoos in the world. Coming up in a second, I was asking Claire if she could hear the elephants. I might have got away with that 20 years ago, but all I got now was a raised eyebrow. There's one of the trip boats going by. He's not hanging about. Looking around, you wouldn't think you was in one of the busiest areas of London, would you? Back in the day, these canals was built for carrying goods around England, and there was a barge going under this bridge carrying explosives, petrol, sugar, and it went off and exploded, and they found parts of the barge embedded in houses a quarter of a mile away. With that type of explosion, they must have had to rebuild this bridge. There's properties round here that must go into the multiples of millions to buy. Me and Claire thought this was the entrance to Maida Hill Tunnel. But when we got closer, we noticed that it was a bridge with a house on it. That path on the right was for the horses to tow the barges through back in the day. It's always nice when you come out of these bridges or tunnels to see what kind of scene awaits. There's another one of them go boats. The bloke standing up on the red dinghy has got a view right through the tunnel, and he's telling us that it's clear.
Thank you very much.
We're coming up to our second tunnel of the day, and this time I'm going to give Claire the camera and not the tiller. We all know what happened last time. This one's called Maida Hill Tunnel and it's 272 yards long. This one's only a little diddy one compared to the last one, and the last one wasn't really that long. In the old days of the horse-drawn barges, the men used to have to get onto the roofs, lay on their back and leg it through. Obviously you couldn't get the horses through here. Must have been hard work. There's a lovely looking restaurant right on the exit of the tunnel here. See if I can show you. Lovely. We're not far from Lord's Cricket Ground and St John's Wood, so it's very upmarket round this way. This bit through Little Venice is beautiful. If I had to live in London again and money was no object, this place would be near the top of my list. Here's a different view of Browning Island. And behind that is the way down to Paddington Basin. But we're going to go to the right through more of Little Venice. Looks like no entry signs at the bridge. Wonder what all that's about. Me and Claire are straining our eyes to see the signs, hoping that we're not going the wrong way.
Something no entry, but G-boats, go-boats, sorry.
When you get close enough to see the small writing underneath the sign, it says no entry to go boats, which is very confusing really. Must have been the hire company put them signs up, not CRT. Talking of CRT, this is their offices over here on the left. What a wonderful looking place. You wouldn't think you was right in the middle of a big city. We're both wondering what all these bubbles are coming up in the middle of the canal. Perhaps someone's pulled the plug out. On a serious note, if anyone knows, please leave a comment. You've got all the ruffians like me moored up on the left and all the posh people moored up on the right. Wonder how they get on. Because on the right they must have to pay an absolute fortune to moor their boats and houseboats there. Whereas on the left, if you can find a space, anyone can turn up there and moor their boat for 2 weeks. As long as you pay your licence, that is. Look at the size of this boat moored up on the right. Now that's definitely too high to move because it would hit the bridges. They must have towed the shell there and built it in situ. You can see the spire of an old church there, St Mary Magdalene, which was featured in a famous old British film called The Blue Lamp, which was the start of Dixon of Dock Green series. People used to say to me, "Oh, don't take your boat through London." Well, I've got to say, it's been the best day's cruising I've had so far on a boat. Admittedly, we've had to work hard today to do this, and there's not really anywhere to moor. But if you do it like us, try and get through all the busiest areas in one day, it's been wonderful. So if another boater asked me about travelling through London, I'd encourage him and say, yes, do it. You don't know what you're missing. We've been going now non-stop from Tottenham for over 12 hours. We've gone through 13 locks in over 80 degrees heat. So we've had to cover ourselves up a bit, and it is getting tiring in the heat. That's the Westway up there on the left, which is an elevated motorway taking you out the west of London. There was a lot of controversy when it was built because it ended up a few feet away from people's windows. Can you imagine if you bought an house and then they built that 2 foot from your window? You wouldn't be too happy, would you? There's a little pub and beer garden over here on the right called the Union Tavern. Looks a nice place to sit there and relax with a pint of beer after you've just done a hard day's work. We're starting to get out of the posher looking areas now, and it's starting to look a bit more normal, like working class. A bit more like what I'm used to. The roads are starting to get busy out there now, with people driving home after work. We're going to moor up at a Sainsbury's over here on the left to get some dinner for this evening. We carried on about another 3/4 of a mile after we got our stuff from Sainsbury's, and we found a mooring at a place called Wormwood Scrubs, which is famous for its prison. Luckily we didn't see any escaped prisoners and had a peaceful evening. It wasn't the most picturesque of moorings, but it was nice and quiet, and that's all we could ask for, really. From Tottenham up to Wormwood Scrubs, where we got moored up, was about 14 hours journey. Today we're aiming to get to Ballsbridge Junction, turning right up the Grand Union Canal close to a station where I can drop Claire off. I don't know what all these pipes are for. They must be pumping some water in or out somewhere. We've worked it out by the bridge numbers that we're somewhere near Harlesden, working our way along west. I used to have nightmares about coming through London, that I'd wake up in the morning and my boat has been redecorated just like this. I'm not sure if it's meant to look like that or their nightmare came true. We was looking up the canal and it looked like a massive barge was in the middle coming towards us. But when we got a bit closer we realised it was an island where the canal splits up either side. It's actually an aqueduct going over the North Circular Road. I've got so much weed around the prop that we're hardly moving. And there's a boat just behind us. I've signalled him to go past, and when we get over the aqueduct I'll pull over and get down the weed hatch. Just spotted a heron in front of us. Then, as usual, flies off. The speed that I've been going, I've been holding this other boat up for about 10 minutes. He didn't look too happy as he went past. But it couldn't be helped. It's just one of them things that happen on the canals. Claire's a strong little thing. She doesn't complain. She just gets on with it. We're off again. There was so much weed around the prop, I had to get the knife out to cut it all off. It took about half hour. This looks like a newly built up area. It's called Alperton. And there's some colourful looking apartments there. Wonder if they'll still look as colourful in a few years' time. I think that's Sudbury Golf Course on the right hand side. I actually played there a few years ago. That's a strange name for a bridge, Ballot Box Bridge. There must be a story behind that somewhere. We're in the Greenford area now. You can see why they call it Greenford, because we're still in quite a built up area and everything looks green. Hello Claire, say hello to the YouTubers.
Hello.
What do you think of it so far?
Yeah, it's lovely. I'm really, really enjoying it. Beautiful.
Good. Even though we've been chugging along really slow, as I always do on Aitch, we've managed to cover quite a bit of ground today, as there's no locks between Camden and Uxbridge to slow you down. We're coming up to an important landmark on the canal system. It's Bulls Bridge and Bulls Bridge Junction. If you turn left, it takes you to Brentford and the River Thames. You turn right and you go up the Grand Union Canal into the middle of England. And we're going to turn right. I think I can say now that we're through London. We're going to get all the maps out now and look for a mooring that's near a station, so that Claire can get back home this afternoon and back to normality. We ended up doing another couple of miles from there and decided on West Drayton Station to drop Claire off. If you have a look at the map, we started our journey yesterday at Tottenham working our way down and through London and then mooring at Wormwood Scrubs, and today we've gone from Wormwood Scrubs turning right at Ballsbridge Junction and mooring at West Drayton. I'd like to thank you all so much for coming along with us on this journey, but most of all I'd like to thank Claire for being a great help and good company. Thank you, Claire. And I hope you come back and join me on Narrowboat Cruising and Lifestyle on the next adventure that we have. So until then, bye bye.